Call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for a div anarchy, and interface with a couch in space. It's space couch time. I took off last week, and I had an audience-shaped hole in my space heart that you are now filling. So thank you for that. Rihanna Spears first in the chat room today. What's up? Welcome to Space Couch. And welcome also to our advertisers. I want to talk a little bit about these wonderful people. Tiger Squawk Records. Frogmaiden 27 says, Raz, what's going on? Bluder Gothic Scheiß from Science Fiction out now. Mini EP out now from Ludo's Lex. You want to check out Batavia's and Us. They never steer you wrong. Also, Cannibal World. Italy's got some new stuff out from Australia. Ashes to Slashes, also from Italy. She doesn't sleep, I'm pretty sure. Skull Cultist. Our guest next week has a new one out called Blood Carvings. Every Day is a Disaster. The instrumental version from Syndica Zero. You want to check out Howler Monkey featuring Choke Chain. That's from the Gothsicles. Never heard of them. You want to check out Grasp Logic's new one. It's a beast. Also, Bad Fact from Gasoline and Vertebrate. I was happy with it. Sanity Checks! We got a new one! Please, I'm so happy with that. Definite Demolition is on Tiger Squawk now with a new one called Descent. And I'm going on tour with God Module as Gasoline and Vertebrate. If you are in La Crosse, Ann Arbor, Chicago, or Minneapolis, please check us out there. I also want to give a shout out to our patrons, Gozer Games, I Hate Artists, of course, Lured by Radium, my buddy Pat from high school, Dominic, big supporter, Grim Reaper for Hire, who's killing it right now on SoundCloud, Bremley, Ray, Fly Ahead, and of course, Walter Magoon, leatherworker extraordinaire. And let us not forget, I always screw it up, Hunt, Hent, Hawk for the Ditch, and Glitch. And by special request, happy 40th birthday to our super supporter, Samuel. I really appreciate it. And, you've reached a threshold that I have reached, and I'm very happy with it. So I'm happy to welcome you into the elite club of, okay, this metaphor is going off the rails, but happy birthday either way. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been so excited to speak with our guest here. We were talking a little bit before the show, and just some cosmic, pardon the pun, mismatch. We're meeting now for the first time, although our interests are insanely aligned. So without further ado, please welcome Mike of X-RL7. How are you this evening, sir?
Dude, I'm doing great. First time to be in space, man. Thanks so much for beaming me up here.
No problem. I mean, I know it looks like the inside of your apartment there in in England, but you are in space, and we'll send you the check for the billions of dollars per second it takes to beam a single all the way out here past your stratosphere there on Earth. But it's worth it to talk about X-RL7. Gosh, let's start a bit high level with your description. Describe your vibe. What is it, and how do we watch it?
Sure, man. Well, X-RL7, I'll give you the sales pitch, the spiel. It's a cyberpunk animated YouTube web series and music project about a fictional band called X-RL7 in a kind of dystopian cyberpunky world and their trials and tribulations in the music industry. And in that nice pixel futuristic world, and features a ton of awesome artists from the scene, the industrial scene, the rock scene, and the metal scene. We've got people like I'll name drop a few, Brian, if you don't
Hell
mind.
yeah.
We've got we got Blue Starly, we've got Aesthetic Perfection, we got Psycho Stick, we got Imperative Reaction, we got tons. Lauren Babick, Nix, lots of really incredible musicians, and yeah, you can check it out on YouTube. It's in the main place. Also on Newgrounds, if you remember that, back in the day.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, it's on Spotify as well. Lots of original music and lots of awesome stuff. And yeah,
true.
man.
Thanks to Rihanna for posting the URL on Facebook there. Let's show you. This will be cut number 7. This is episode 16, just a little snippet. Longer than I usually go, but like every moment of this is gold. So this is just a clip, but you can see the whole thing on YouTube.
Don't listen to him! He's a selfish lover!
No, he wanted us to sign with him.
Poacher!
It's cool, Alfie. We're here with you. He's not worth it.
So, how's this battle gonna work?
Well, I've got a riff and a beat. I figured Omega and I could shoot some lines at each other, get the crowd going.
Yeah, I can do that.
By the way, do you play games online? Feel free to add me. My handle is Ghost with the Most 666.
Oh, okay.
This is gonna be great. Yes, seriously, I love you guys.
Stage is all set up for you, Ghost. Whenever you're ready.
I hate you guys. Prepare to be crushed harder than a brick wall limiter.
Razor! What you did to me, karma's coming!
Oh, get over it, Alfie. It's just business. And I hope your boys don't get too embarrassed out there tonight.
Destroy him, Omega. Destroy him!
X-RL7 versus Thunder Music Battle commence!
The self-righteous droid can face up to me. Omega, no, the alpha is Ghost XD. Present yourself big like you think you're higher. You're nothing but a tiny toy pop messiah.
You keep running your mouth with running on your lips, but hey, little ghosty, I'm the excess dance. Sugar rush potion, trying to refrain, cause when you mess with the X, you get phantom pain.
Woo! Yeah, you know what? That's enough of this. Enough!
And we're back. What's up to DJ D42 and Addedum Bomba Boom from MTV TV in the chat room today. So that is pretty awesome. Industrial cartoons. I love it. I don't even know where to start, but names were dropped, so let's go there. Like, how do you go about getting all these celebrity voices?
Yeah, because there's some really awesome people involved. I'm so humbled and grateful that they want to be involved in this, man. But yeah, it's how at the start when I first started the project, I initially worked with some people that I knew just from being in my band Mixie One and being on the scene and having one foot in the industrial world and one in the rock world, and a few people that I knew got involved. But reaching out to new people, really it was just a case of knocking on people's digital doors and just sending an email.
That's cool.
I think the first person that who I didn't know who got involved was actually Daniel Graves of Aesthetic Perfection. And it was awesome because it was so bizarre because before that point, I wasn't hugely, I know living under a rock, I wasn't hugely aware of Aesthetic Perfection. I was peripherally aware, I'd seen some stuff, but I didn't realize how significant that act is in the scene, shall we say. And I had this character and I was trying to find, there's this character he plays called Debbie Divine, which is this obnoxious, producer guy. He's criticizing everyone else for using autotune, this stuff. Episode 7, I think, if anyone wants to check it out.
All right.
And I needed someone to voice this guy who could scream and sing the song. And basically how I found him was I went on YouTube and his album Into the Black was just recommended, just as on the front page. So I checked it out and I was blown away, dude. Yeah. Blown away. He's insane, isn't he?
He's great.
I basically looked at more of his stuff and he had a little comedy skit. So I sent him an email and it turns out a lot of musicians are interested in getting into voice acting.
Yeah.
Like he is. And he was really up for it, and he got involved, sent the stuff. It was quite funny because I told some of my more industrial minded friends, like, oh, I've got aesthetic perfection involved, and they're like, what? Daniel Gray's involved? I was like, yeah, is that big deal?
Cool, that's pretty
but
awesome.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I think the fun like industrial thing about that episode as well is, just as a little mini spoiler for this episode, is he's this really obnoxious guy that's like, criticizing everyone else for using effects. He's all about the brand and image and stuff like that. And in the end, he plays live and his effects kind of cut out and you hear the stuff without. And there was he did some singing, like he is very good of him, very good. He did some intentionally out of key singing.
Okay.
But I asked him to do some like rubbish growls, rubbish screams.
Right. And
it's funny because it was inspired by this, I shan't say the name, but it was a UK industrial band that I semi-liked, right? And you know how on the studio, you got a lot of the bands have a million stacks, layers of effects.
Sure.
There's this band, they had like, distortion, phase, chorus, and delay, everything.
All the classics.
All the classics. It sounds insane, man, on the album. But I saw this performance they did live,
right? And
they had zero effects, totally dry on the mic, at the mercy of the sound guy.
Oof.
And it went pretty.
Okay, you're looking at your shoes.
Yeah. It was wild, man. It's very yeah. And the funny thing was, I never gave Daniel any like references to do a bad scream, but he did exactly the thing I was thinking of. It was so weird. I don't know if that's a common thing.
That's great. Well, that's what I picked up with the strength of the show is that, like, oh, this is an inside job. Like, this, you can't write that line without having talked to that particular sound guy, DJ, fill in the blank.
Dude, can I ask as well? Because, like, speaking of voices, I've seen on your channel you got a pretty nifty voice reel. I'm curious how you got into voice acting too.
Oh, that was I'd been semi-obsessed with this indie game developer growing up, and then when I finally reached out to him, the same thing, like, how'd you get involved with Bloodlust Software? I emailed him, no great backstory. So
that was Bloodlust Software.
Yeah, well, I started on Bloodlust, because they put out a game, and then the Gothicals are on that soundtrack, and then we got to be enough of friends that, like, I just did voice acting for a Bloodlust Software game called Osiris the Snip, and then Corey from the wonderful band Volt 9000, Tiger Squawk Records, did a series called Biomutoids, where him and myself and Caustic are toys that he's got amazing stop action skills. So I'll send you my voice acting reel after the show here. We'll make something happen.
Wink, wink.
But this show's about you and not me. And it's not even just voice acting, because there's the music on this show is so amazing, and you can get that unto itself. Like, let's take a look at a track done with none other than Imperative Reaction. This is a clip of Information.
Where do you get your information?
So that song is like a banger. So is like X-RL7 a band too? Like, is that the right word to use?
It's I'm not sure really. It's kind of, I almost think of it as like an almost solo music project that lots of people come involved in, because the fundamental thing of it, and I've got an interesting little tidbit about that song as well,
Please.
is like, well, yeah, because like, the way it works is this sounds so non-industrial, but I write pretty much every song on an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And basically, because
That's awesome.
once
You
I've
can
got
play an
the,
instrument.
well, it's like once you got the melody and the chords and the chord structure, it's I find it translates to the digital world pretty nicely. But once you got the core song there, yeah, you it's, I guess this is coming from my rock roots. So a song like that, like, which has no guitars in it, that was written just on acoustic, just on like one string, like and just singing over it. Yeah, and I basically, I record a guide vocal and send that to the artists. And what was so great about that is Ted from Imperative Reaction, Ted Phelps, when I approaching him to be on the show, it was funny because I discovered his work quite late in the game and fell in love with it. But I wanted to hear what his talking voice sounded like. I actually sampled it on your Brian show, Voice Signal. And he had a really great interview with Ted. And I think there's one point where they mentioned how Ted can do a really cool falsetto, but he never records it. Like, it's just, it's not out there. So when I did the song, I had it already written before I'd spoken to him. But in that line, I think we just heard it.
Yeah.
It's got that falsetto bit in the chorus.
Yeah, it really goes up.
Yeah. I said to Ted, man, I was like, dude, because whenever people tackle the songs and perform it, they do it their way. And sometimes there's times I've written stuff in falsetto and the artist hits it full voice because they got a bigger range than me. But I said, dude, if you can, it'd be really nice to get that falsetto there. It'd be really cool. And he did, and he told me afterwards that's the first ever publicly recorded falsetto of Ted Phelps.
Yeah, that's
on Information.
Awesome. Oh, getting the best out of people. Well, Rihanna in the chat room has set me up brilliantly with saying, don't forget you can support XRL7 on Patreon. You can. Let's plug your Patreon, which is patreon.com/XRL7, no dashes. What can people expect should they follow you on Patreon?
Thank you, sir, and Raz. Yeah, we've got lots of extra behind the scenes. You can see early access, tons of exclusive music. For every song, there's an instrumental, there's my guide vocal, and usually a whole bunch of alternative versions and things like that.
Wow.
So yeah, there's lots of cool stuff there, and we're doing reaction videos now, so that's kind of a bit of priority if you want us to stare at stuff and react to music. So lots of cool stuff there, and get ahead of the curve, get some pixels ahead.
Yeah, you get the ton. Well, let's take a look at a little bit of a behind the scenes video. Here is cut 8.
So after the intensity of episode 16, we're chilling out and revisiting the Midnight Bar from episode 2. Michael Joseph makes a return as Trey the bartender.
I'm an actor.
Mark Haig, aka DJ Kark, aka Draconic Elimination Project, voices Hayden Overdrive.
Yeah!
Lee Towson once again contributing his versatile tones to the series.
Cool.
The vocal beast Alan Rogers nailing it as Alfie as per usual.
Omega!
Charlie Kennedy of Forget My Friends and Royal Baby is in the mix.
I think there's a fly in my drink.
And of course my lovely wife Amy Evans as Ariana.
This is a song I wrote. It's called Parallel Life.
Are back. So much cool stuff. And for viewers of the show, you will recognize Mark from a previous episode as Carcasaurus. And I just saw him because the Gossicles played Reading late last year, and it was cool. Wow.
Mark, dude, can I just say, by the way, like, because we kind of spoke about it a little bit, but we glossed over it, but the fact that you're in Bloodlust Software has blown my mind. Dude, right? I played so many of those games.
It's such a vibe, like that Noggin Knockers, all that crazy stuff. Yeah, no, it's like I will let Ethan know that you're a fan.
Dude,
so cool. We gotta do a song about it now.
This is wild.
So let's go back to superhero origin story stuff. How do you get started making pixel cartoons about industrial rock and whatever else in between music.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. So originally it started because so I've been in my band Mixie One, which is
Mixie One.
electronic rock. That's the one. It's been in the band for about 10 years now.
Mhm.
And before that, I was in kind of an alternative metal band, which had like it was cool. It was very, very metal, kind of inspired by Japanese metal
Okay.
bands like Deer and Grey, the
Sure.
female vocalist who screams. It was awesome.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, so I've been in that band for a while. But you know, like I'm sure similar to you, I've grown up on the pixels, man, in games of like well, for me it was like point and click adventure games are my main thing. You know, like
Hell yeah.
yeah, man, Monkey Island, Space Quest, and you know,
yeah.
SNES and all that.
King's Quest, man. I
King's
rock
Quest.
an inventory for days. Quest for Glory. Good stuff.
Yeah, man. Picking up every single inventory item.
Oh,
just,
yeah.
You know.
You got to try that broken wand on everything in the fucking, you know.
Oh, it's awesome, man. Yeah, so that, like, preach. That's what I grew up on and is a big part of my childhood.
For days, but
Shadowgate.
Shadowgate.
Broken Sword.
Oh, dude. Oh, speaking my language. Collect all the things, says Frog Maiden. Oh, yeah. Just walking around with a giant sack of plates or torches, whatever you're ransacking from the dungeon.
Yeah, still look quite slim doing it. But yeah, man. So like those games, man, there's something really special about them. And I think being in, you know, Mixie One, you know how it is in music. It's awesome and fantastic, but there's a certain way of communicating, expressing yourself, like in music, which is kind of, you know how music is. It's a little bit more emotional and abstract.
Right.
And I kind of wanted to try something a bit more direct, you know, with like conversations and, you know, more, you know what I'm saying? Something a bit more, a different way of storytelling. And so I thought, why not make a game? So X-RL7 actually started as a game.
Wow.
And it was like an homage to all those like Space Quest and Monkey Island and things like that. And basically I was working on it for a while, and it was some of the characters were still there. The main antagonist, the Duke, who's this kind of David Bowie-esque music icon who runs the industry, he was in the game. But Omega, the lead character of X-RL7, he was kind of a side bad guy character. But I'd written a song for him because I thought, you know, we'll keep music in it. And the plan was to, you know, write fictional songs for these fictional bands in the theme of like, you know, Metalocalypse or Scott Pilgrim or any of those things with like fictional, original fictional songs.
Right.
And I was working on it for a while, and it dawned upon me it's going to take years to complete on my own. So I basically I went on holiday, and it just killed my momentum.
Right.
So I was like, okay, all right, what else can I do? And that's how I got into animation. I thought, you know, I'll get a copy of Toon Boom, which is similar to Flash, and got a cheap-ish graphics tablet. And I said, well, let's see how much I can do. I know animation takes a while, but let's see what I can do. And I started this channel called Project Anything with a couple of friends.
Cool.
And that's how I started animating, and spent a year on that, just sort of learning the ropes. And after a year, it was like, okay, I think I can bring X-RL7 back as an animated series.
That's cool.
There was this song that I wrote for Omega called Apotheosis Man, and it kind of stuck with me. I thought that would be really nice to do something with that track. So I sent it to Laurie of the band Studio X, and he did a great mix
Studio
of it.
X.
Yeah, man. Represent. And Laurie did this fantastic mix. He added some cool synths and some guitars, and I was like, okay, let's do it. And I basically rebranded X-RL7 as what it is now, with Omega being the lead character, came up with a whole new story, and here we are. And it's just gone on and on.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you brought up Metalocalypse, because you can now sort of quote unquote see Death Clock live. Like, might we ever see X-RL7 as a live band?
Good point. You know, I was speaking recently to one of the actors, Mikey Altered, who plays the Duke, who I just mentioned, because we were thinking about it. Because the logistical issue of doing it authentically, like with all the original artists, is a lot of people are in different countries who featured in the show. A lot of American artists, oddly enough, I guess.
USA.
Americans. Yeah. So I think it's not on the cards in the immediate, but we are looking at maybe sorting a live
Oh,
band.
that is cool. So
Yeah.
I know we have some promoters that watch this show. Okay, just gonna float that idea. How long does it take you to make an episode? They're so detailed.
Yeah, it's case by case.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I'll say that my sort of go-to is like 6 to 8 weeks. But
Wow.
I think that's more just the animation, because the other side of it, as I'm sure this is something you can relate to, dealing with a lot of people, is sometimes you gotta like wait for files and communicate with people, and
Oh,
you know,
God.
musicians go on tour, and
Oh
you know,
yeah, I couldn't even. I do enough cat wrangling for these one-on-one long-form interviews. I couldn't imagine getting like voices and lines and things. That sounds like such a Herculean effort.
cat wrangling. I love that. Yeah, it's man, yeah, dude. It's like this episode that just came out, right?
Mhm.
Episode 22. It's a little bit more rock flavored. Everything's
Mhm.
got some electronics in it, but it's a little bit more hard rock, this one. But that took 2 years to come together. And that's
Wow.
because on that one, I had most of the voiceover in since then, like 2 years. But
Mhm.
because the featured artist is this guy called Michael Joseph, and he's not out there as a musician, but he has a YouTube channel where he does research into esoteric type things. But he's a singer he does some rock stuff, but he
Mhm.
kind of keeps it on the down low. And we were friends, so I asked him to voice this character called Jared in this fictional band called Cyanide 6. And he did, and he sounded so good. He had a bit of a Chris Cornell sort of vibe. So I
Okay.
said, let's do some more stuff. And so I wrote an EP for this band. So it's 3 songs, but it took 2 years for him to get all his parts in
Wow.
that he was happy with. So it's only just come out. So this is one of the behind the scenes things you have to deal with, especially with musicians.
That is
We're a fickle breed.
amazing. So not only do you have 22 episodes of content to catch up on there at home on Terra Firma or wherever else you may be in the cosmos. The last one took 2 years to come together, so it you just watch it, man. It's great. Like, it's written well too. With such a
Look, give it a watch.
I don't want to say chaotic, but challenging sort of setup. Does that allow you to write a narrative arc beforehand, or does each one sort of have to be self-contained episodically?
It's a bit of both. There is an overall kind of arc that.
So you know what's happening 5 episodes ahead, or like more than.
It's kind of I know the direction the characters are going in, but I don't know when they'll get there.
Okay.
Or the exact specifics. But I know what each character represents. There's a lot of layers underneath, and I know what feels right and where they're going. But it gives me some nice flexibility, because there's certain things I want to do with different character arcs and certain places I want to go and certain commentary I want to explore. But it's flexible in the sense that because it's not set in stone, it provides some opportunity for, stuff to happen. Like, for example, a fun side story as well. Blue Starly, we just saw Ghost XD. Dude, one of my favorite bands ever. Love Brett in Blue Starly.
So cool.
So, yeah, man. So what happened was, with that, I saw this is a side story of how the flexibility helps.
Please.
So like I saw that he was no longer with the label Fixed, with Cell Dweller and all that stuff.
Right.
And typically when an artist is not on a major label, I know they're kind of an indie label, but a little bit.
Yeah. I know Fake. I worked with them for like half a second.
Yeah. So like I saw that he was free of label, and I thought, well, that'd be interesting. That might be worth pursuing, because sometimes when a label is involved, there's like contractual stuff and it can't work out. For example, a story I tell sometimes is there was an artist, a couple actually, who were involved. One of them was with a label that was related to Sony.
Oh, wow.
And he was really interested in being involved. But there was a thing in his contract where he couldn't be in any other music which could be considered competition. So anything remotely in the same genre. It was
wow. Well, I mean, kind of a feather in your cap that you're competing with Sony.
But yeah, sadly it didn't work out. But so I saw Brett was like solo, so I was like, well, let's send him an email. It never hurts to ask. You never know. So I sent him. This is how it happened. I literally sent an email to the bluestarly.com website. I said, hey, I've got this little show called XRL7, and maybe you'd be interested in being involved. And basically, like a week and a half or so went by, and I'd forgotten about it. I was like, he's probably busy or whatever. Then I got an email back, and there was interest, and I was like, oh. And the thing is, I had no plans. I had nothing at all. I literally just emailed him just on a whim, just in case. So I was like, oh God, okay, what do we do? I need to write a story. I need to get a song. Cool. I need to do this now. So I literally pulled up WordPad and I made a little bullet point checklist of the qualities of, Blue Starly, Brett, like what I think he would be cool for. And I was like, okay, what can we do here? And then I came up with this character, Ghost XD, wrote a summary of the episode, sent it back, and he was up for it basically. That's cool. And within like 5 days I'd written the script and the song, the show, which he sings on it, he mixed it, and he produced it, meaning he added a whole bunch of extra synths and stuff. And it's so awesome, and it's just surreal hearing his voice.
That's awesome. You get that now, actually, before I forget, xrl7.bandcamp.com, everybody. Pick that up.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, but that's because of the flexibility there, it allowed me to slot that in, and it's like one of my favorite episodes. So
it's a great one. Very cool. Well, I mean, you certainly keeps you on your toes. I wanted to ask about episode 1. I mean, I just started at the beginning, and like you take on cancel culture, whatever. Like, what to my mind was like pretty ballsy in like the first episode. I was like, damn, guys got some taking on some issues. Like, has there been blowback from that at all?
Yeah, you know what? I was so worried about that episode going live because like I basically had a version of that in December 2018, right? And the show went live on July 2020, so it was a while before it all came out. And I was thinking, I was worried, like I didn't want to alienate people, but I said, I've got to be authentic, got to be honest. And honestly, like in terms of negativity, any pushback, it's been the opposite. It's been awesome, man. People have connecting with it and resonating with it.
That's super cool. I love to hear that.
Yeah, I think the closest, I think any negative thing is kind of nothing which is explicit, in the sense of, I think that, for example, there was one person that was involved that he appeared in an episode, not in a major role, but he appeared, and before it went live, because he'd only seen his episode, so he hadn't seen episode 1.
Okay,
and he, when I sort of put some trailers out, he was sharing it around and said, this got people from like the industrial scene, check this out, man. And then once episode 1 dropped, I kind of sensed he kind of just went silent. and got a little bit distant, a little bit. But other than that, no. And I hope it's because my aim for that episode was to focus on certain behavior that I found troubling, the behavior of the big cancel culture, social justice-y stuff, more so than any specific issues. Like there's no specific, like, political topic or whatever mentioned. But you can copy paste any in, and I just wanted to demonstrate the behavior, because one thing, I don't want to get political on your podcast. Sorry, Brian.
Say whatever you want, man. We are on a rogue flight path out here in space. I have no sponsor. I have Tiger Squawk Records, but I run that, so it's fine.
It's cool. Well, the thing I wanted to show there was because, like, I'm a compassionate guy, but I'm also very analytical. And in my day job, I work with data a lot. Okay. And one thing I observed is, which is commented in the episode, is sometimes a certain version of events is demonstrated. And I used the example when Omega's chatting to a podcast host where there's a certain statistic, there was a certain big number, and there was a soundbite narrative inflated drama around this number. And in my day job, stuff like that happens where you might get a report and someone says, oh, this number's too big. And so, you have to investigate it and say, okay, well, what's going on there? And you do some basic data analysis. You say, well, what's this number made up of? It's made up of these categories, not so much of that, break it down further, and you get the complete story. And when you have context, it makes sense. And then you'll send that back to the client to say, oh, it's because of this, because you did this offer or whatever it is. And I was like, okay, cool, case closed. What I noticed is in the cancel culture sphere is on that same thing. If there's a claim that's made, but then you say, well, hang on, well, the data says otherwise, then a normal civil conversation, you'd hope the person would say, oh, okay, and take that on board, or refute it with some data of their own. But instead, what happens is they'll say, no, you're a bigot.
Right.
And they'll basically give you a label and try and shut the conversation down. And I didn't like that, because that's a form of bullying and dishonesty. And that was the main thing I was trying to highlight in that episode, just sort of the hypocrisy and things like that. And that's my political thing. I'll stop saying now.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed. Everyone check them all out. They're amazing. But thank you for that,
Cheers,
that
dude.
insight. I
want to work out what your shirt says, dude.
Oh no, this is Justice Society of America. Dr. Fate, Original Green Lantern, The Spectre, Power Girl, Jay Garrick, Flash, Stargirl, and the Sandman. Oh, and Mr. Fantastic's over on the left there. We're giant nerds here who like DC Comics up in space.
Awesome.
And all that. I want to get to some features because I'm very excited about it. We will start with the radiation round, called that because lightning is exceedingly rare in space. Right, so no wrong answers. Say whatever you want. We'll start from here. Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Okay. SNES. Got to be SNES. It's called Sega Mega Drive in the UK for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know. It's Mega Drive around the world, and we got Genesis. I don't know if they're trying to sneak in some biblical studies or what. We'll go with are you a Holy Grail or Life of Brian man?
Oh, dude. I can't possibly cop out answer. Both.
Both. Fine. Fruity Loops, Ableton, Cubase, or other?
Other. I'm a dude that uses a very old version of Sonar Cakewalk Soda.
Awesome. Love it. Oh my God, we gotta talk about Cakewalk and Bloodlust after this. Okay, so from the top we have Buy of Hair, Super Nintendo, both for Grail versus Life of Brian, and Cakewalk for the last one. So thank you for that. Let's move on to Hypothetical Spectacle, where we sort of distill the aura of your thing and make it into another thing. Hypothetically, often
thing to thing.
It's you got it. We'll do video game a lot on here, like imperative reality. I just burped into the mic. I said I wasn't going to do that, but it's in space. It's fine. No one can hear me, except everyone watching at home. Almost did it again.
That's the character. That's what it is. This is raw.
This is
raw space,
it's the character. I'm practicing for a role of a guy that doesn't treat his guests well. Oftentimes we'll do like a video game, like imperative reaction, the video game. But you're too close to a video game already. So if we took the three main characters from your show, Omega, the lead singer, is kind of a robotic frontmanish guy, and then PJ and the manager Alfie, and put them into the context of like a classic Dungeons and Dragons party, like who do you think would be each role?
Okay, you're gonna have to help me out with this a little bit, Brian, because
cool.
I've never played D&D in my life. I've just observed bits and pieces. But
sure.
Okay, I think when I think of Omega, I think he's got a slight, because one thing that leads him in XR7 is these visions he has.
Right.
And it's kind of in the air, if that's kind of natural or it's from other various places. But so he's absolutely obsessed with this mission he's picked up from these visions of exposing hypocrisy and all these things.
Right.
So I feel like he's got a bit of a almost religious bent in that way. So what's that class? Paladin or something? That's a bit into,
Paladin.
Sort of
no, he's totally the Paladin. That's such a good call.
Sorted. Yeah, man. And PJ, Because I think, yeah, the cleric is pretty chilled, isn't he?
Yeah,
Sort of.
yeah. I think he's pretty chill. Often tries to like save a situation, kind of like healing the party. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so we got
That's so
Paladin.
PJ.
Yeah,
Alfie.
totally.
You're gonna have to help me out with Alfie, man. He's so over the top. He's a paradox because he's aggressive and quite abrasive, but he's also like a softy as well. So
Right.
I
Well,
don't know.
which is why I think it's perfect. Perfectly fits on Barbarian,
Ooh.
because you have sort of a raging maniac, but they don't traditionally wear like plate armor or anything like that. It's just like a dude in a loincloth, so they take a lot of damage as well, and they're sort of soft in that manner. So
I can
you
see Alfie in a loincloth. Yeah,
Oh, well, I mean, that's what you get if you join the Patreon. You get.
apparently so.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we'll do the XRL7 OnlyFans coming shortly. To
Well, it's got some letters X X. So X. I don't know what I'm talking about. Disregard.
XXXRL7. Oh, that's if you really hit the skids, but it's all in good fun. For now,
Yeah.
Frog Maiden.
For now.
Well, right. We'll see. We'll see what happens next year. Frog Maiden corrects me and says he's not a robot. Sorry about that. Does very much agree with your analysis as Paladin, and also relates that they do not wish to think of Alfie in a loincloth. No, no, no. Look, I mean, it takes all kinds. We don't judge here in space, and we'll do that. So, I love it.
That's a good point because one of the things about Omega is one of his catchphrases, which I got to get on a T-shirt sometime,
Right.
is "I'm not a robot." Because as soon as anyone calls him a robot, he gets a bit defensive.
Oh no, I screwed up. I committed space racism.
It's so good.
So we'll check out
Space racism.
Well, but you raise a good point. In that. On your Patreon, not only is content but merchandise. We can get some shirts and so forth. Yeah.
Technically, not yet. I've got to
Okay.
sort that out. So that
All
there
right,
will
but
be.
that's coming.
It's coming.
All right. So he's
Indeed.
he's not a robot. He's vocoded to a certain extent. So
It's kind of it's ambiguous of what's going
Okay.
on, but definitely he's got a vocoder going on.
All right.
So-
Well, I didn't mean to drop a merch bomb. Now everyone's like, there's
Get on
some
the site.
clamor for merch here, but well, we'll see if we can make that happen. Mike, we are on something of a rogue flight path here in space, and we're going to bring this flying couch back on into the station. Is Mixie 1 still going for you, or is it still mostly XRL7 now?
I think realistically at the moment it's XRL7, and I
Uh-huh.
think part of that is because, I think partly is because like I reached a point with Mixie 1 where I was getting a little bit of writer's block,
Mhm.
and it was like there was kind of certain things I wanted to say, but I kind of felt a little bit strange doing it in that project because if I started writing romantic-y things, I felt like it had to be about my wife constantly. And I felt like if I wanted to say social commentary stuff, there's certain things I wanted to say which other people in the band may not have felt as strongly with. So I didn't want to shoehorn them. Like, as you see, episode 1, I didn't want to force my bandmates to be like, oh yeah, he's talking about cancel culture, and you know what I mean? But a funny thing was, as soon as I started XRL7, that writer's block just disappeared.
That's
And
awesome.
it's for me, it's like it's bizarre because I can go for a long time without writing. And if I was to pick up that acoustic to try and write right now, it would be a challenge. But as soon as I have like a concept, I have a character, and how the lyrics will, the concept will be distorted through that character, and what sort of fictional band they are, what sort of vibe, I can pick up that same guitar and just rock out a song. But in the meantime, I can't write anything in between.
But you're making me think of something, and this is kind of a difficult concept to voice. But I started the sentence, so I'll try to finish it. The notion of, and maybe it's only for, I don't think it's only for musicians, but we might experience it in a very specific way. The idea of re-energizing one's self. Like I would sort of hit a wall with gothical stuff. Like I guess I'll write a song about fucking Mappy Land now. Like I just like there was this video game thing was getting stale, and like and then I moved to Boston here in the United States, back there on Earth. I was in Boston, and I sort of integrated myself with the noise community, and I was like a big noise guy when I was like 18, and now at the age of 500 million thousand, I was sort of rediscovering my noise roots again, and my mind lit up. I was like, oh my god, I couldn't stop, and I was buying gear, and then I came back to the gothicals, and I have all these great new ideas. So it sounds to me like you carried this torch of Mixie One, and you have all these pieces, and you're sort of building those Legos in a new, exciting way. Maybe one informs the other. I don't know, but I wanted to express that idea of rejuvenation is so important.
Yeah, I agree with you, dude. And the funny things, as you say, like it's good to take some time away and maybe dip into a different genre or something else which is unrelated, and it kind of informs some new ideas for your main thing. And the fun thing about X-RL7 is, I'm drawing from experiences from bands before Mixie One and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, well, sometimes you'll listen to stuff that you haven't listened to for ages, and it will just be like, oh yeah, I used to write stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but it's fresh because you're a better songwriter now. So it's it's
hearing stuff you never heard before. And it's all
And sometimes, like I'm at the minute I'm on a bit of a. I don't know if you know this band. They're called Inner Party System.
Negative.
They're kind of okay. I have to hook you up. They're
all right.
They've broken up now, long ago. But 10 years ago, they had some really big electronic like bangers.
Okay.
And they came from, I think they were originally in a metalcore band, and they started industrial, and it's just wicked. But I used to listen to it back then, but I'm listening to it again now, and it's just filling me with so many like ideas and inspiration.
That's amazing.
It's like newfound appreciation, like as you say, like checking out the noise community again. It's like you hear something now that maybe you didn't hear before.
Yeah, because you tune it out, or there's expectations about what should be coming here, so doesn't hit you as much. I won't get into that, but because while those opinions are difficult to voice, one opinion that is not, or expression or idea that is not difficult to voice, is my hope that you at home check out X-RL7 on YouTube. I mean, it's like Strong Bad is back, and he's doing bangers about synthwave. Like it's what more could you want? We have friends and certainly people of who I am a fan voicing the show. All the music is available at xrl7.bandcamp.com. We'll leave on this. What is next for the mighty Mike Evans?
Thank you, sir. More pixels, more beats, just plugging away, doing more stuff, because I'll tell you what, animation takes a while. And it's a lot of motivation. So just more stuff. We've got some there's a couple of episodes, there's a bunch of episodes coming, but the next one's got quite a lot of cool people involved, and I'm sure you'll know a few of them, Brian.
That's very exciting. So well, it'll be episode 23, extremely industrial off the bat right there. So we will wait for that. Check out episodes 1 through 22, and check them out on Patreon. When you finally do that X-RL7 video game, maybe you could break into like a turn-based combat chapter and actually have Omega as the paladin and PJ as the cleric with Alfie as the barbarian.
Love it.
Mini games. That's just an idea I have right now. But the main idea is that this is Brian for Space Couch, for Mike, for XRL7 saying call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for a Divanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. Space Couch out. Thank you so much. I love dire need to get up. This was so good. And just so many ideas. The content is campus. I have to catch up with it's just awesome stuff. I wasn't kidding. Let me know if you need some a maniac or a character. I'll send you my voice acting reel after we're done here because I am inspired. But all right, so